Ken Fisher is with me. He founded Fisher Investments in 1979, has more than 200 billion under assets under management, based here in Dallas, and bullish on 2022. Can you believe that the rate hikes do not mean an end, if you like, to the tech growth or the tech boom that we've seen?
Or the stock market. We actually have a very long history of interest rate movements and stock prices. And the fact is that long rates going up actually correlate slightly positively with stocks, meaning they go up together. It's a weak correlation, but there is no history that shows rising rates making stocks down or tech down.
But when you see, look, the professional investor is either sold earlier on or is on the way out or has left the market or is on cash. The 401k, the pension fund, the person, arguably myself with a portfolio, is sitting there wondering what to do next. What do you do next?
I think the markets are going to be volatile all through the first half of the year, but the back half of the year I think is going to be strong. And it's going to be strong because that's normally what happens in America in a midterm election as the market starts to pre-price the beginnings of gridlock. And that's what we're going to get in this election. I think the market will price that starting in the third quarter. Normally the fourth quarter of midterm election years is positive, 85% of history.
Can we say that the previous historical precedents bear weight, bearing in mind?
Usually not, usually not.
Exactly, bearing in mind, you know, pandemic, slow growth, high debt levels, all these things factor in.
But the things that have happened in history that people don't believe will happen are the ones that do. And the fact is there's such a strong ideological bias that people have to either be on the left or on the right in politics, think the other side's terrible, that they can't quite believe that if their side loses or is suffering, that it's not bad.
So the Ackerman purchase of $1 billion of Netflix yesterday or day before yesterday made everybody think, well, if the big players are buying on the dips, should I buy on the dips too? Netflix is down, by the way, some 50% from its all-time high, from its 52-week high.
And in the short term, that's all meaningless. Again, I'm thinking the first half of this year's got a lot of volatility. I've been saying that since December. I didn't predict this January weakness, but I believe the first half of the year should be scary, a continuation of all the scary talk that we started in the fourth quarter.
The economic fundamentals we're told remain strong. Do you believe they are?
Yeah, absolutely. But we do have problems. The supply chain problems are real. The supply chain problems are made worse by Omicron because fundamentally Omicron starts some problems of getting something out on time. Inventories as a percent of GDP are back to pre-2020 levels, and if that's the case and we have shortages of some stuff, we have way too much of some other stuff.
Right, but I'm interested that we're now all playing the dreadful game, and those of us who've been around long enough, how big would the cycle be? How long will the cycle last? How high will the rates go?
And the answer is the skepticism is enough that it can go on for quite a while. And what I've said is it can actually go on into 2023. The history of third years of presidents' terms is overwhelmingly positive. Again, rolling that gridlock into a part where political risk aversion falls and politics gets quieter and calmer, which nobody expects.
So, put it all together. I mean, you have a different view of, not a different view, but you have a view that's not being based up in New York or London, but being based in the South, which gives you, I think, a slightly more rounded view.
It's not the South, it's Texas.
In a sentence, tell me what's the difference? What makes Texas different?
Texas is a mindset. Texas is just a mindset about big, about future, about opportunity, and about independence. I could tell you a lot of stories, but we don't have time, but it's a mindset. You're talking to Ross Perot later? Ask him about Alliance Airport. It's the biggest thing that nobody knows about.